I think of these, oh, in Adams, when the railroad first came through there, people lived in boxcars because there weren't any houses.
What's a boxcar? Do you know what a boxcar is?
No.
Didn't you read the Boxcar Children? Was it Julia?
Explain to her what a boxcar is, Mom.
Yeah, it's a part of part of the train that when you see it go through and there aren't any, it's not where people ride in, it's where they haul,
Freight.
yeah, freight. Mm-hmm.
What's freight?
Like wood or like lumber.
I'm gonna bring that book down and have you see it sometime because it's kind of interesting. I didn't know that about the boxcars. We didn't live in a boxcar.
They were
So,
highfalutin.
how many
birds.
years did Grandpa work on the railroad?
Probably about 50 years.
And he was a brakeman and then a conductor.
Mm-hmm. And then before he retired, he was then once you got more seniority, he became a conductor on the Streamline train, passenger train.
And how many kids were in his family?
His own family?
Hmm.
Let's see. 3.
And what were their names?
Helen and Aunt Hazel.
And then what was your grandparents' names? His parents?
See, Belle and William
Bell and
Curry.
And what did?
And my grandfather was a barber.
Oh. And where did they come from?
Well, they lived in Adams for a while, so I'm not sure where they originated from.
But your dad moved from Adams to Darlington when he was 12.
He moved, he must have been, yeah, I don't know where they were located when he left home. I just know he left home when he was 13.
Did
Then
all
my
the-
grandfather was an engineer. And you start out as a brakeman before you become an engineer.
And what's the difference between an engineer and a conductor?
Engineer drives the engine that pulls the train.
Oh. Do you know that?
Yeah.
How'd you get so smart?
I have no clue. All my teachers.
What are you going to be when you grow up?
I have no idea.
I thought you were going to be a teacher.
I don't know.
You know she used to be a teacher?
No.
Mm-hmm. Taught 4th grade.
How old were you? And you?
About 21.
And where did you teach?
In Lodi.
How about that?
And one time, you know what one of the students did when I was kind of come in the middle of the year, and one of the kids, I opened up my desk drawer, and there was a dead mouse in there. And they thought that I would scream. I just closed the drawer up and didn't say a word.
She took away all their fun. So, how many siblings did Grandma Lee have?
She had 5.
And can you name them?
Yeah. Uncle Floyd. My mother was next, Leona. Then, let's see, Uncle Floyd. Rose. My mother, and then Lorna,
Oh, yeah.
Debbie Jones' mother,
Mhm.
and Kenneth,
Mhm.
and then Genevieve.
Okay. And where did Grandma Lee grow up?
She grew up in Adams. Well, no, Baraboo. She was born in Baraboo
And what were her
and at home.
what were her parents' names?
Ida and Fred.
Okay. And
And Ida was a Kennedy, and Fred was a Stephan.
okay.
And Fred grew up in Hill Point. In fact, I think he went to the same church that where Marianne goes now, but the
Okay.
original church I think is in the Historical Society.
Hmm.
That's what we should take the kids through sometime,
Where?
in Reedsburg.
You want to go?
I don't care.
The old original church is there.
I don't know.
Now, for the record, in case 100 years from now someone's looking at this, they're saying, "Who is that little girl? What is your name again?"
I do not want to share my dignity.
For the record,
He's just asking for your name, not your social security number.
Alexa.
That is my dignity.
Okay.
See, Grandma really had 4 brothers and sisters. I was counting her when I said 5. There were 5 altogether.
Got it.
And they were all born in Baraboo. And the reason, my grandfather worked on the railroad there in Baraboo,
Mm-hmm.
which was the old line, Northwestern, Chicago Northwestern. And when the new line went through Adams, I imagine there was more work. So they moved to Adams.
Hmm.
And I
And what
wanna
was the
tell you-
line that your dad worked on then?
Chicago Northwestern. They both, that was a railroad center. Adams became a railroad center. Let me tell you, when Grandma went to school, you would be interested in this, Alexa. We had gypsies in Adams and Friendship. You ever heard of gypsies?
They're like hobos.
I've heard of them, but I don't know.
They camp out in the woods. Well, anyway, my mother, when she had to go to middle school, she had to go through the woods to get up there. And she used to be afraid because she had to go by the gypsy camp.
That would be scary.
What?
That'd be scary.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to go by the gypsy camp?
I would hate it.
There's so many things I think I would like to ask my parents now.
Oh, tell us about the summer you lived in a tent.
Oh, yeah.
They literally lived in a tent.
During the depression, the first depression in 1931, my parents had bought a house for $1,800. That's less than $2,000. And my dad was put out of work because of the depression. So he had to find work, and he operated a crane, and he had to travel from place to place. And we didn't have the money to make our payments on our house, which was $20 a month. And then when we didn't have a place to live, so we decided to rent the house out and get the money to make the payment. And so we decided to go along with my dad and live in a tent. And that summer we lived in a tent.
Where?
Oh, all along the Mississippi.
What'd you do when there was thunder and lightning?
Well, one time there was, they thought it was going to rain, and you know how the Mississippi overflowed
Yeah.
sometime. They decided that they wouldn't set the tent up, and it was a good thing they didn't, because it was all flooded in the morning. They went up and stayed in a depot, an old depot, and when they woke up in the night, there were bed bugs coming out of the walls.
They wanted to get out of the flood.
Yeah.
And one time I think they stayed with a farmer when they didn't think the weather was going to be good. But they did their own cooking, and we slept on a cot. And it was a very big tent.
Wow.
Do you want to hear